Welcome to the Brox and Max channel. Figured I'd do a part 2 episode on the new but old John Deere 555G. And it's not looking good. I adjusted the brakes a little bit. That's kind of the point of this video. I'll just show you a little quick and easy way. If I can do it, anybody can. But I had to take some panels off, and about 150 bolts later, it's all stripped down. And I got to pressure wash it some more. And there's some things you probably should take care of. Any of you dozer operators or equipment operators that deal in the woods a lot, it's not looking pretty. Stay tuned. I'm thinking maybe I should name this machine. I'm thinking about naming it Hope. Short for Hope I Don't Part This Thing Out. So I have all these panels here that I took apart, and some of them are fairly clean, like the floor pans and stuff. But then you have the side panels that all this stuff, this grease and oil and grime is all caked up. And on top of the back of the machine, when I took all these panels off, my mother goes, "Hey, do you need any buckets by chance?" I go, "Yeah, I guess I could use them." Well, I guess I used it. This is probably a, I don't know, 3.5, 4 gallon bucket, and it's 3/4 full of just stuff that I putty knifed off of the top of the transmission on this machine. Not this machine. This machine. So this is what it looks like when you tear everything down. Now, I don't know when was the last time this was completely torn down. It does have almost 3,500 hours, so it's not a high hour machine, but obviously somebody used it. And I don't know if it was in the woods. I know I don't have much history on it. But this whole top here, you couldn't even see the yellow. It was all caked up. This lip is probably 1.5 inches tall. This was even with it, if not a little bit taller. And it's still in there. I got the best that I could with the putty knife. Now I'm going to do some pressure washing and see if I can get it a little bit cleaner. Going to run some pressure tests on it. Got a friend of mine that's going to help me, like I said in the previous episode. See why it does not steer to the right. It steers to the left, but I just don't know enough about these machines. And thank you for the ones that did comment to reach out to somebody like CNC Equipment on my previous episode. I may end up doing that if, you know, go into dead end mode here. But I got a few contacts here locally that I'm willing to try. And you could see, I believe the drive shaft once upon a time was changed. Any of you guys want to say different? Please comment. And then the front, what do you call this? Torque converter? That's not John Deere yellow. So I wonder if maybe once upon a time that was changed. The rear motor mounts look good. Everything is, I mean, it's not a bad machine. It's got, I don't know, I guess I would call this low hours. It's not super low hours, but it's fairly low. Original paint. Just needs some tweaking here and there. I'm going to fire this thing up. Of course, ether bomb the damn thing, because for some reason I can't figure out that part either. Still got to do the whole, do a service on it and all that. See if I find anything out of the ordinary, and go from there. Now it does have the ether built into the machine, but obviously that's empty, so maybe this was an ongoing issue. So I got to use the regular ether can. And while I had all this torn down in here, I can't even touch the bottom, my long-leggedness. But when I had everything apart, I doused some spray lubricant on the throttle and everything, and it goes up like it's supposed to. It's actually perfect now. It needed some attention. Just sometimes machines get neglected, and I end up putting that flapper on. Put that back on because we're going to get some pretty heavy rains in the next couple days. So I just didn't need it filling up the muffler and what have you, because it's outside currently. The garage is kind of full. So yeah, let's see what happens. I doubt it's going to start, even though it's a perfectly nice day. Put the fuel all the way up, give her a crank. No, this does not want to do it without the juice. A little bit of wake-up juice. with this little hours, I think there's something definitely wrong with it. It shouldn't need to be ether started every time. And then the unforeseen, when you have all the panels off, see that drive shaft moving around in there? You never see the bowels of the machine running. Then I got this weird sound. I gotta investigate that. Don't know what that is. I'm gonna figure that out too. And I moved the linkage out of the way so it doesn't interfere internally. Like I said before, it's a really tight machine. I mean, somebody did go the country mile to keep this thing greased. Looks like the front end does not, it's probably starving from lack of oil. I gotta put some more hydraulic oil in it. I can definitely feel it in the handle, the pulsation of no oil. Starting to gain some clues here on what's wrong with it. So before I moved it into wash bay, I decided to pull the belly pans down on the transmission side and the engine side, and this is what's on there. It's not terrible, but still, this stuff, this crud here, this is screaming fire. It's all oily, greasy residue, pine needles, sticks. All this stuff is perfect ingredients to start a really big fire, and by the time you even think about looking for a fire extinguisher, the machine is completely engulfed in flames. So it's probably a good idea once a year minimum just to check your machines out. Like, this is all caked up. This was mouse house and all sorts of crap in there. Now luckily John Deere, along with Caterpillar also, and look at this, they have master kill switches on their machines. I'll put a thing in the description in this video of another previous video I put on. It's a really good idea if you don't have a master disconnect switch on your machines. It's a really good investment. It takes a little bit of time sometimes to reroute battery cables and recrimp some ends and stuff, but it's a really good idea, especially if the machine is parked a long time. You just don't want that battery draw going in the wrong spot, arcing someplace, especially when you're not around. It's just not a good thing. You're going to come back to the job the next day and it's just going to be charcoal. See, look at all this. This is no joke. This is leaves and sticks and oil and just a whole bunch of happy here. But eventually all this is going to get pressure washed off. I'm just trying to clean up. I don't want to make a mess in the yard, so it's just going in the bucket, going in the dumpster, and just washing off the dirt residue and all that once I'm done. Well, would you look at that? What is this? Oh, hey, anybody know where the light switch knob went? Well, it's right here. Obviously that's why the light switch got changed, just a regular up and down toggle switch. But this is original John Deere equipment at the bottom of your machine. So keep an eye on things and maintain your equipment. I love how every used piece of equipment has its own story. Whether it's a poor mechanic, an owner that doesn't pay attention, every single machine has its own little story. I'll explain. Here's the bottom transmission pan. Looks good, right? Well, not so good. It's supposed to be straight. It's also supposed to have nuts on the back. What happened with this? Also, we have the nice torch marks here. That's quality. Here's the regular belly pan underneath the motor. It's missing a bolt to change the oil for that little window. The backup alarm wires are cut. The access to adjust the brakes obviously was once upon a time rounded off, so we're just going to cut it with a grinder. We have the safety cable that connects to the seat belts, but no seat belts. And don't even get me started on this. Where's the rear view mirror? Where's the auto bucket return? The serpentine belt is on its last leg. Clearly there was a fuel line issue, because this is where the side covers are supposed to go. And the side covers weren't on the machine when I bought it. They were in the back because this would hit it. I can't believe it doesn't hit the cylinder. Who torched a hole in the hood? So far I've found 2 bolts and 3 nuts. Anybody wonder when you're working on a machine, hey, why do I have 2 bolts and 3 nuts extra? I wonder where they go. What's a pencil doing on top of the transmission? I don't particularly care for this. Battery cable just swinging in the breeze when you're running it with all this vibration and all sorts of things. But we made sure we got the big LED lights front and back fastened. What is a welding rod doing on top of the transmission? Then don't even get me started on the tools. I got a hammer, channel locks, and an extendable magnet for free. Does anybody give a shit? So anyway, this is kind of how it should look. Nice and clean. Get to anything in the back here, along with everything else. Must be we were doing concrete once upon a time. It's probably why the dirt was as hard as concrete cleaning the tracks when I got it. All pressure washed, nice and clean. It's actually not a bad machine. It just needs some love and attention. So I'm going to put those panels and all that stuff back on the pallet, because there's no way I'm carrying that one by one, because those are pretty stout. John Deere stout. And wait for my guy. I don't know if he's going to blow me off like a prom dress, or if we're actually going to figure this out. But I did check out this window here to maybe think maybe I just needed to adjust the brakes, but it wasn't the case. So you just undo this. I just left it finger tight. So you take out this window, yep, definitely did that last night too. And inside there you can see this little gear that adjusts your brakes. You push it down with a pry bar. That's what you do. We just go in there with the machine running in neutral. That's how it kind of adjusts. It's actually pretty easy to do. You do a few clicks, whatever you think is necessary, and then test it out, see if you like it, and adjust accordingly. Unfortunately for me, I had to adjust it and then put it back, because that wasn't the issue that I have going on here. So obviously it's a flow issue. I need somebody with some tricky gauges, some tricky knowledge, just stuff that I don't know. And I just don't want to screw something up. Hopefully I can get this fixed, and maybe I'll shoot a video of it running, pushing piles off or whatever, and go from there. So apparently I have been noticing everybody that I follow on YouTube, they're making stupid long, stupid boring videos, and they just drag them out so long. So I'm going to join the bandwagon and try to do that. But the thing is, I'm just going to extend what is now what I thought was part 3 and just incorporate it into this part 2 episode. So let's fast forward. The first part of part 2 was October-ish, when there was no snow. Now it's December and there's a lot of, well, not a lot of snow, but it's freaking cold outside. That's why this is inside now, and I'm working on it in here. I'm doing all the nickel-dime stuff that nobody paid attention to, just trying to get it up and running where I would feel happy putting it on a job and not worrying about something stupid breaking down on me that I couldn't finish the day. So stay tuned for all this crap. So here we go. Yep, it's definitely cold outside. So cold that it's snowing. And my push-off material that I was going to use for this machine is now snow covered. I really don't like mixing dirt with snow, but I still want to try it out. And I'm also not a huge fan of the snow. It's miserable to work in, it's cold, it's just not fun. And spend most of my winter time in the garage the best that I can. So let's get after it. So I have a lot to talk about and all of the little nickel dime stuff. As you can see, the motor got a service, the fuel line got fixed, the fuel filter got installed. When I put the side covers on, it's no longer going to hinder this fuel line. Now the fuel line, I don't know if anybody pays attention to the shorts that I make, that fuel line was obsolete through John Deere. No longer in the system. It was a little bit depressing, but you know what? I have to push forward. So I ended up putting in, it's somewhere, I think I covered it with some shielding stuff. Oh, duh. Staring right at me. So here it is. Just go down to my local truck repair hose shop place and get a length of hose with some barbed ends. Call it good. It kind of starts now, but it's also in a 70-degree building. So I'm curious if maybe I fixed it. I'm not sure. So right now I'm in the middle, because I'm kind of a tall guy. I'm in the middle of moving the seat all the way back flush, so I can have all sorts of leg room on this machine. Do you see all this leg room here? Oh yeah, that's where it's at. Actually, I don't even think I could reach the pedals this way. What I'm actually doing is I have to replace, after doing some further investigation, right here is the fuel sending unit for the fuel tank. Now normally I really wouldn't care, because half of the machines that I run don't have fuel gauges anyway. But I want to make this machine right. It's just got enough potential that I feel like this is a good thing to do. Unfortunately, you have to tear apart about half the machine to get to that stupid sending unit, because God forbid John Deere puts their sending unit on top of a fuel tank to make things easy. But whatever, nor here nor there. I've changed them before. I already knew what kind of job I was getting myself into. Now, in the beginning of part 2, this machine did not steer. So I had this friend, he helped me out very heroically, and you have these rods here on both sides that control the pedals. He hooked up his tricky gauges to the top of the transmission here to see what type of flow, see if there was any type of a seal that was blown out or whatever. Well, come to find out, because what I was doing is when I would hold both pedals down or manipulate them in such a way, it would steer to the right. The left would work fine, but it didn't work like it was supposed to. So he actually it was just something simple. Once we figured out that the pressures were fine, he adjusted these two rods here. They're adjustable. You just take those lock nuts apart, or jam nuts, or whatever you call them, just so they don't knock themselves out of adjustment. And adjust that rod just so. This thing turns freaking perfect, like it came right out of the factory like that. Now I have a 1500 hour 555G, not as, I don't know, dull as this one. It's actually pretty nice. I'm really considering trying to adjust those, because this one steers just so perfect now. I'm so excited to run this. I really am curious to see how this is going to go. But let's get up in the cockpit here. Don't want to sit on my crimpers. So this is the way the seat is all the way back. And I'm a pretty tall guy, and I can't even reach the pedal, so it's just a complete joke. The other problem is with machines sitting outside, mice find their way. So in here is a nice mouse house to just seek shelter. And they have an in and an out, which is great for the mice. But unfortunately, mice really don't have any type of care. They don't discriminate where they live, especially in equipment. So there was some chafing, some chewing on some wires. Luckily, the copper on the wires themselves were in good shape, but I really didn't feel like chopping like 10 wires apart to, you know, couple them back together and heat shrink them and all that. So I ended up going to my auto parts store and getting just a brush-on electrical tape, and it actually is pretty sweet. I'm like really impressed by it. That literally coated it like a brand new wire. Call it the cheap way out, call it half-ass. I don't really care, but I don't know if it's any worse, or it's probably just as good as heat shrink. So I'm gonna run with it. So along with this dash, why I have it tore apart also is because the temperature was a little bit wonky on this. It was like, as soon as you turn the key, it was on hot. So I asked this said friend that helped with the pressures, and he said, it's gotta be the temperature sending unit. So way in there, I mean way in there. Behind the fuel line, it's back there. But it's kind of a pain to get to. So I got on my superhero cape and started tearing stuff apart, and I got that sending unit changed out. And I thought, oh, got that done. Turn the key, same thing. Luckily for me, I have a now parts 555G. Actually, I'm just kidding. It's just the other 555G. I figured, let me just swap the gauges out and see what happens. Well, I did, and it's the gauge. So I guess to say I got a new gauge coming with a new sending unit, this is going to be ready to roll. I just got to put all this stuff back together. I zip tied everything, so everything's kind of out of the way, not going to rub against anything. I'm going to put one more zip tie right there just so it won't rub against the track frame. And this thing is ready to go. I may even put this out in the snow to see how well it handles taking apart frozen piles. I made a short video on how to straighten out a screen on a particular G model dozer like this. I got a lot of views on that, but I don't get shit for views on regular videos, so go figure that one out, YouTube. But I don't know, we'll see how this one goes. So now I will concentrate on changing out that sending unit. I already drained the tank, so there shouldn't be much of a mess at all. And I don't know, button it up and maybe it's done. So I ended up, before I did any of that, before I took anything apart, so the key's on, I wired up the brand new sending unit just to see what would happen. So when you mess with the float and twist and turn, the gauge moves like it's supposed to. So I'm pretty happy about that. And then of course you have this. No, that doesn't work at all now. Can't imagine why. Let's plug this in, show you how I knew there was some type of an issue. You know, holding the camera is so friggin' easy. You need 3 hands for this, so there you go. It pegs right at hot. I wouldn't have been able to handle, oh yeah, I know it's broke, so I'll just keep an eye on it being broke? Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? See if I drained off enough fuel. Sounds like I did. Are you freaking for real? So after pulling this out, I thought it was stuck from maybe some rust or something, that it was hung up on full, but it's actually, the internals are all busted up. This rod is not supposed to do that. So when that did that, it just hung itself up on full. And I don't even know if it's gonna work again. I'm curious to see though. Even the gasket isn't in bad shape. If I can get it, oh, there you go. Huh. Way to go, John Deere. But when you order this kind of crap, you got to order the gasket separate because this doesn't come as a kit, ironically enough. I do have a new gasket, just so you know. But I'm curious. Very curious to see if this actually works. Well, I have the old sending unit hooked up. Let's see if it works. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Although it's not. Yeah, it's wore out. The contacts are kind of messed up on it. So I guess it's not a bad investment. I'll throw this thing away. Unless somebody wants a cool ping pong ball. I couldn't help but notice that the old sending unit, I don't know if you can see it, says made in Germany. And the new one is made in India. What's up with that, John Deere? And then to extend my footage a little bit longer, I'm going to put this on for 5 minutes to hear what a waste oil furnace sounds like. See, maybe we can do something while we're out there. Stay tuned. While it was a 5-minute pause, not even 5 minutes, I put that new sending unit in, as you saw, and I took this shift boot, even though it's not a shift boot, it's a steel framing boot, call it a boot. I'm just going to grease up the heim joints a little bit. Anything that I see that's got a pivot point. What started all this action is I looked down in the tunnel here, and then this bolt was loose. So I just wanted to make it so everything is tight like it's supposed to be. I didn't want to ignore it. Spray that. Spray the spring. Spray this one. Spray that one. Alright, so I should be good to go now. I'll put that back together and I'll start reassembly, putting the floor pans in, maybe some of the underguards on the tanks, the hydraulic tank and fuel tank. I think this job is pretty much almost done here. I can't wait to shove this thing into a pile. Remember to coat your bolts with some anti-seize. So it took about an hour to put all those panels and pieces together. I'm just about done. I got a notification on my phone that the seatbelt arrived that I ordered online because John Deere wanted $325 for a lap belt. I thought that was a little bit pricey, even though it's all about safety, but I can get the same damn thing for $100 brand new. And then I have to put on the belly pan That's the last panel that I got to put on, but I got to take that bolt out that's broke off on the back side. It's stuck. I don't know. I'll figure that out. Put that on, and I'm going to take it outside. Rain, snow, sleet, or regular dirt, it's going to move some earth. So I wasn't going to film this only because I didn't know how long it was going to take. And I don't really know how many viewers are actually still watching this video. But anyway, I tried an extractor. I drilled, where was it, this one? I drilled through, hit it right on center too, put a little 1/8 inch pilot hole, then stepped it up to about 1/4. And I have some extractors that I tried, but it just didn't work. It was pretty much married in there. So I had to do it the old-fashioned way. I just go in my toolbox and use like an awl style line up little punch. I sharpen up the end and make like a chisel form, and then I collapse it kind of like so. I just go, I'll sneak along one side of it, and it basically gives up, and then it pounds out the bottom of the hole. And then I just chase it with a thread, and from what I can tell, it's still intact, and it'll work a lot better than just one bolt holding this little window on for the changing oil maintenance part of this pan. So this is ready to go back on. For any of you that cannot understand how that bolt even broke in there, well, here is the original one that I pulled out. Do you see the end of that? It's all rotted and just rusty looking because it went past the thread and it went into that crud that was caked up in this belly pan here. And I just can't imagine why that bolt would break. Anti-seize. It's a wonderful thing. You do both of them, and they'll probably last forever. Seatbelt's here. Let's see if it's as good a quality as John Deere would be. Not bad. I'm content with it. That'll hold me down. So now the moment you viewers have all been waiting for, me especially. I finally have it done enough that I can start it up and run it out of the garage and see what I can do and push some piles over. I did forget, I had to cut this out. That's a bolt that kind of holds the rock guards. Goes across the street, and every once in a while it breaks off. That's just a piece of pipe and a 10-inch bolt, 5/8 or whatever metric is. John Deere wanted 50 bucks for that bolt, so I am gonna go get one myself. Yeah, sometimes John Deere is a little bit wild on their pricing. Kind of like me going out in the snowbank and trying to push some piles over. But I'm gonna fire this thing up, let it warm up for a few minutes outside, and get to it. forgot one more thing. Grease it. Duh. So, I guess this video is going to get strung out for 5 more minutes than it should have. Way to go. So after greasing it, I discovered that I have a seized pin. Now before I do any of the pulling the pin or pressing the pin out or heating it or whatever, I'm going to try to cheat and use the old porta-power method. Now, I can't remember the last time I did it, but I ended up finding an old porta-power in my toolbox that's marked WD-40. So clearly the last job it was for something particular like this. So hopefully this will push it out. And it just needs to be worked a little bit. It may take grease after I get it broke loose, but as of right this very second, it's not accepting grease. So hopefully injecting something thinner in it that's got lubrication will solve the issue. Sweet. Well, that worked like a charm. Whatever that issue was, it blew it out, whether there was some rust in there or whatever. I'll put the grease fitting back in and hopefully it takes grease. Well, this one's take 2. Hopefully it's a little more successful. So while I wait for the machine to warm up for a few minutes, let's see how flammable the dirt is that I shoveled out from the belly pan of this machine. Now that I got the machine out, I swept up the floor. Let's do a little science test. Well, what do you think? Is it flammable? I'd say so. I'd say so. I'm gonna give it about 2 or 3 minutes. Let's see if it grows. And this is just mainly dirt. I already scooped out the sticks and the pine needles and all sorts of crud out of there before I even brought it in the garage. This is what I just finished off with, trying to get all that I could get out of it. Doesn't seem to want to stop. Do you think it would be a good idea to clean your machines once a year? Starting to grow. I feel the heat on right now. Oh, some of it's starting to simmer. And the other thing about it, do you see really any smoke? By the time this thing actually catches, it's already too late. There's hardly any smoke right now. This could just sit there and fester for a good 5 to 10 minutes before anybody even notices. And then all of a sudden the machine is engulfed in flames. Fire's getting bigger. seems to be all right. I've never used a machine before in snowy, frozen conditions, so I kind of took it easy. I didn't want to get myself into a jam. But it's got a lot of grip, it's got a lot of power, works like it's supposed to. So this is pretty exciting for me. Little things that it needed, and now it's back up and going like it's supposed to. I know nobody noticed, but on this flapper, I put a bolt right here. It's got an option for the bolt. It's actually for weight, because that stack isn't direct mounted to the muffler. So if you don't have that, the weight of the flap pulls down at idle, and all the smoke runs in the engine compartment of the machine, which makes a black, sooty mess. So anybody that wants to have a solve for that, that's what that hole's for. You have to put some bolts in and some nuts to give it a little bit of weight, and then when you just bump up the throttle a little bit, it's kind of balanced that way. For those of you that are still tuned in, I really appreciate you sticking with me and seeing all the little stupid things that I was doing with it. I'm kind of glad that it's done. Kind of glad the video's done. To me, this video is just 3 times longer than it really should be, but I'm just trying some things. So feel free to comment if you think this video was extremely boring and you're never going to watch my channel again. I'm a big boy. Let's hear what you have to say. If the viewers like what I post, I'll just keep posting. I still have some little things that I have to do to it that doesn't warrant the rest of the video. I have the temperature gauge that still hasn't come in the mail. I have the rock guard bolt that you saw me cut off. I gotta change that. And I'm still waiting on a cable, a safety cable, from the frame of the machine to the seat belt. There's some safety things in case for some reason the machine goes haywire. At least you're kind of hanging out in there, riding out the ship. So there's just some little things, but this thing is pretty much done. It's very comparable, as it should be. It's a 555G. It's very comparable to the one that I have that's got 1,500 hours. This one just has 2,000 hours more. So the functionality is a touch different. Maybe it's just from, you know, an additional 2,000 hours, but they're very comparable. The power is there. The overall track condition is the same. The functionality is the same. There's just little stupid things that I can notice between the two, but nothing that hinders the actual performance of this. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I appreciate everybody watching, tuning in, and I guess that's a wrap for this one. I'll see you at the next one.